Hey, what's going on, guys? Everyone that is live today in this group will get to see this podcast episode for the first time and exclusively, even before it's launched. So the best thing about this is that we will bring different, great people that have done really great things, and will just launch the podcast and just stream the podcast through here. I think Facebook sometimes gives me issue, and right now it looks like Facebook blocked me from being live. So I'm just live on YouTube. So all right, let's just get here someone that I have um, right now. Her name is Jade. Jade,
Hello.
and I want to have a podcast because I'm really excited to talk about this. I don't think we've had many realtor focused businesses here, and I'm gonna get Jade, who is in my opinion, one of the queens in this space. And it's also good to bring in, females. Like I'm tired of just bringing men that are just like, bluffing. I'm kidding. All right, so let's go and start a podcast, um, and you're going to see the music. All right.
Mic check.
I'm good.
Mic check. Mic check.
You can read about success all day long, but if you don't put in the work, the mindset, execution, and the hustle behind your vision, it just remains a dream.
When everything goes wrong, you have to take all the responsibility.
We uncover what high-level entrepreneurs, business owners do to rise up from hustling daily.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
The world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Join me as I share with you actionable tips to help you grow your business, learn skills, and help you level up in your self-development journey.
Your number one spot for business and personal growth is the Online Hustlers Podcast with your host, Esteban Andrade.
Hey guys, welcome to the Online Hustlers Podcast episodes, where we do REI marketing and conversion series. And if you're listening to this podcast, it's because you love marketing, you love business, you love real estate, and you love me. Nah, I'm kidding. But this episode, I am actually really excited. And it's one of the episodes that I was looking forward to do because we have very few realtor focused episodes. Actually, we only have maybe only one, and that is also someone from in the wholesaling space. But Jade, our guest today, she is in the realtor and brokerage space. So again, real estate. She's also a real estate investor, and she started this not too long ago. And I want to touch base on this during this episode because it's incredible what she started doing. And what she started doing is scaling and well, really growing that the way and the rate that a lot of people cannot even afford to do, and it's something to actually look up to and really learn a lot of things. But Jade also is absolutely well known for just spitting her thoughts on Facebook and TikTok. So if you follow Jade Gorling on TikTok or in Facebook, you're gonna see that some of these thoughts that she just posts on her Facebook wall might be somewhat opposing of what you are, your views are, or might be something that ultimately are going to encourage you to just comment or just like. There's a lot of controversial stuff that she definitely has said in the past, and it's entertaining, and it's also really good to see people that actually are pure, raw, and bold. So that's why I'm really excited about this episode with Jade. She's a Canadian citizen. She's a Canadian citizen. You're not living in the US right now, right?
No, we're in Canada right now. Sometimes we live in the States, though.
Okay, awesome. So Jade, for the listeners that listen in here, first, everyone just share away this episode. Everyone just do this for me. Share this episode to your network, and everyone that is running real estate businesses, whether you're a realtor, investor, whether you're a wholesaler, whether you're an agency that does real estate, anything related to real estate, share this. And yeah, let's start. So Jade, man, Jade. Oh man, I am so excited. I like to really first start on listening to kind of like get to know you, because of course a lot of people are gonna be like, who's Jade? She's building a she's building a multi-million dollar agency in real estate, and she's also investing in multifamily, and she has already two big ass contracts in less than a few 2 3 months or something, that you've been doing some cold calling. Like, who the hell is this Canadian that is coming in here and just like scaling fast, doing things fast, or faster than the regular people do? All right. So I love to learn who's Jade Gorling.
Cool. I'll tell you guys all about me. So, anyone who's in real estate generally knows who I am because we own an agency called Cold to Sold. We advertise everywhere on the internet. So, we probably inundate most people who are in the real estate niche with ads of my face constantly. So, that's actually where we got started in real estate, was having a real estate agency. Prior to that, I did marketing for the government, ironically enough, for about 10 years. I also worked in the financial industry for a bit. And I wanted to get into real estate. I did do some real estate investing prior to that. I had a couple rental properties, wasn't anything that serious, but I knew that I wanted to get into real estate because you guys all know every common saying out there is most millionaires out there made most of their money from real estate. So I was like, I'm not leaving this on the table.
Oh yes. So you
So
started. So you started like saying that everyone has been seeing your ads in the real estate. So most specifically, agents have been seeing. What do you do? Like, what do you say in these ads? Because it's cold to sold. It's your company. What do they offer?
So we offer seller leads and appointments for agents and brokers. So that's kind of, and we also do all of our advertising on YouTube. We've tried every platform out there, and we just find that advertising on YouTube is, it's your best bang for your buck. You get to take advantage of
YouTube.
the Google network, but not have to pay Google prices, and you get better quality leads for realtors specifically. I would say for sellers on that. So
Yeah.
that's mostly what people see.
So you started in real estate because, of course, like most millionaires, honestly, own real estate or are somehow involved with real estate, right? And that's kind of like, is that how your thought process going from government marketing to real estate agency, which actually sucks and it's really hard? Like, was that your thought process, or like how did Jade Gorling evolve from being a marketer in the government on having secretive stuff happening to real estate?
So my big thing was I didn't want to work for the government anymore, and I wanted to transition. So I started just I opened up an agency, and it was just generalist to start out. I did advertising for basically anyone under the sun that had a business that needed some sort of advertising. But my big plan was I was going to get into real estate. And that was when there was a huge hype of every agency and their dog was going into real estate. They wanted to work with agents. We started doing that as we took on one real estate agent. We did a case study where it was like, hey, we're going to do your advertising for free. We're going to see if this works. We did in our local city, and that campaign just blew up. And then from there, we just started closing more and more agents. At this point in time, we've worked with probably over 1,000 real estate agents. Now, it's funny because my grand plan behind all of this was to eventually do real estate investing. But I wanted to get good enough at real estate advertising to be able to do that. So we've been slowly picking up rental properties in Canada here and there, just Zach and myself. And then we got into real estate investing where we started doing multifamily. And the way that we've been able to, I guess, get really good at that is because we have a real estate agency. We know how to get sellers. So if we know how to get sellers on the line, chances are we can get sellers on the line so that we can buy their house.
Wow. Okay. So this is incredible because it absolutely also resembles my story. So I wanted to get into real estate investing and start investing in real estate. Of course, I was broke AF, right? I was in Detroit. I wanted to get it, and I got into real estate marketing. But it's actually really tough to deal with realtors. When I was working with realtors, most of them, they don't have this entrepreneurial mindset. It's just they just take it as a job. Instead, when I started talking with wholesalers or investors, they do have this entrepreneurial mindset, at least closer to what we do. And it was easier for me to have conversations. That's why I went ahead and do it. So this is for anyone listening. if you're looking to start in real estate, understand the real estate is a marketing game at the end of the day. In order for you to start fully understanding the whole entire back end of real estate, it's not too complicated. There's many different exit strategies, and you can be so theoretical and so good at doing numbers and everything. But if you're not gonna get deals if you don't know how to market yourself. So this that Jade is doing, like knowing how to create sellers and buyers for other real estate professionals, is absolutely the smartest thing that anyone could do, and that's exactly kind of like how I wanted to picture myself. Now, Jade, um, I know that you use YouTube and you use Facebook, and you started doing this for realtors, but
Mhm.
for your real estate investing business, you use cold calling.
Yeah, so here's my take on this, and I'm going to try and keep this as short as I can. For our business, we're closers. We know how to close. We don't necessarily need the most creme de la creme leads. We will literally take anything because we're skilled, trained salespeople. I find our clients, a lot of real estate agents don't have a lot of sales skills. So they're more focused on we need the most polished lead possible in order to try and close this opportunity. For me, I'm about volume. Give me as much volume as you possibly can. I'll shake out the quality. All I want is volume. So we do cold calling. We do run ads. We do quite a few things, but cold calling is kind of our bread and butter because the way that we wanted to set up our business is we wanted to bootstrap it. We didn't want to put a massive investment into it because we knew that we didn't necessarily need to start out. So that's kind of how we started, was primarily cold calling, because we just wanted to start it on a shoestring budget. We had different partners that weren't part of our agency. And it was like, if we're going to put this together, how can we start it with a minimum viable product? And then as we've started to expand, that's where we've started investing more into ads and everything like that, simply because we already know how to do them. But yeah, cold calling is our jam because it's the lowest cost and we can get a significant amount of volume from it.
I love that. And okay, so when you started this agency, how long ago was this? Like,
No, that was in like end of 2016, 2017.
so you've been there for a long time, and it's 1,000 real estate agents. Like, what an achievement, or close to 1,000. What a freaking achievement! So, how big did you grow this agency that you have sold to close? Sorry,
Um,
sold to sold.
sold. Honestly, we have no limitation. We have no exit plan. We have no anything. We are just going to keep running it as big as we possibly can. Real estate obviously has its busy seasons and its less busy seasons, but the market that we're in right now is just kind of interesting. We're noticing that it's, instead of so many ebbs and flows, we're noticing it is just on an upward trend, which is kind of cool. So our goal in terms of growing it, at this point in time, we're just going to keep going. There's no end in sight for us.
Love that. So you're not that type of business owner that is going to be like, I'm just going to exit, become this, advisor, or just owner, and then to ultimately hire everything out and then don't want to deal with it. Like, are you, or how is that? How is that in your perspective?
So for me, I guess for us, we've been kind of lucky in terms of being able to automate it and scale it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the day-to-day is outsourced to our employees. That business is pretty well automated at this point in time. We still have to go in every day and do some work on the agency, but it's not what it used to be, where it was 16-hour days, constantly grinding. Now we have a huge team which can take care of most of the day-to-day things. And that's why we don't necessarily have an exit strategy, because we've been able to, I guess, delegate so much of it that it's like we can also focus on our real estate investing. We can focus on other side projects. So it doesn't need 100% of our attention anymore, which has been really great.
Yeah, that's one of the best things. So now you're going inside of real estate investing. All right, you're not wholesaling. You're actually going to acquire properties, and you're going big. You're actually going. Usually, people start in single family, cold calling single family and getting single family, and then they graduate eventually to multifamily. But what made you go into multifamily? Start a cold call operation, and just do multifamily.
It almost happened like on accident, sort of. Everything that we do is like, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it 100% we're going to go hard into it. So our initial plan was we were just going to buy a couple single families. I think our goal in our first year was like, it was pretty modest. It was like, we're going to buy like 4 houses in our first year of doing this. Just very, very modest plan. And then after we started to realize, okay, getting big money is just as easy as getting small money. And then we started to realize getting multifamilies it's a little bit more time, but it's not necessarily any more work. So we started to realize, why not just go into multifamilies? Because it just makes more sense to be doing that. So then we started just picking up portfolios, because at the end of the day, it's just as much effort to buy one house as it is to buy 60 houses.
Yes.
So why not just go for the 60 house portfolio instead and save yourself some time? Takes longer, but the amount of work, I would say, like, it's, I don't know, negligible.
This is really interesting. First, okay, so you're Canadian and you're also living in Canada, and you're taking over the US housing market. All right. And
Don't say that too loudly.
And for anyone, you can follow Jade in TikTok. All right. So you did that, and you're absolutely having really good results. I want to say, let's be humble. Like, you have two good portfolio. I mean, two good packages right now, from what I heard. All right. And you started how long ago?
I want to say like in September.
All right. In September. Look at this. There's 2 packages of multifamily. Usually people just take 6 months to get even one property under contract after starting a cold calling campaign. All right. This means that when you started your cold calling and you started your marketing, I know you guys are closers, but in terms of the cold calling, not everyone figures that out at this rate. And I do have to be very curious. Like, did you guys used to do cold calling with your agency? How do you guys go about it? Because this is something that is huge for real estate wholesalers and real estate investors, just mastering that art, especially at the beginning. So I'd love to learn more about that.
So I have a lot of cold calling experience. So I do have a little bit of cheat codes when it comes to that. Like I said, when I worked in the financial industry, I was quite young. This was like, I don't know, 12 years ago, if not more. My job for 3 years was 100% cold calling. That's all I did, day in, day out, selling financial services via cold calling. Then in our agency, how we started out was cold calling. And that was sort of when it was just Zach and myself. That was all we did, was just cold calling. We got pretty good at it. And then we still do have cold callers in our agency, but it's not really our main focus, simply because ads are easier to manage than people. So we don't do a ton of cold calling in our agency anymore. I think we have like 2 full-time cold callers. So we did have cheat codes. Our other partner, Roy, he also has a ton of experience with cold calling and sales as well. So we did have a little bit of an advantage knowing how to do it already. And then it was just a matter of taking what we already know from real estate and then taking what we already know from cold calling, putting it into that business and really just testing it, figuring out what's working and kind of going from there.
Creating all the systems. Now you created this remotely. I'm assuming you have all remote cold callers and everything.
Yeah,
you
100%.
Okay. And where are your cold callers from, if we can know?
Our cold callers are all over the place. So we have tried Canadian and American cold callers. Not exactly my favorite. We have tried cold callers in the Philippines. They're okay. And then Mexico is one of our favorite places for cold callers.
That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like people do not understand the great advantage of working with people in the Latin American countries to support your U.S. small business. And they're so used to the Filipinos that they're so away from the fact that there is talent in the South and the ability to speak 2 languages, think in 2 languages, and mold really easily with the American culture.
Exactly.
So Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico's great because like it's so close to the States that there's not that much of a culture shift. We found when we were hiring people out of the Philippines, things are quite a bit different. The culture is quite a bit different. So for them to be able to have a educated conversation with someone on the phone, it takes a huge amount of training for us to get them to really understand the markets, the culture, everything like that. really hardworking people, great people to work with. We still hire a lot of staff out of the Philippines because their work ethic is excellent. But Mexico is just there's not that much of a culture difference that it's quite a bit. There's less of a learning curve, I would say. So we like hiring out of Mexico 100%. We've tried Canadians and Americans, and I just find they're our like work culture in Canada, the US just isn't there.
Yeah. And is it just because Canadians and Americans are entitled and sometimes lazy? Or
I
what
would
do you
say I would say that is exactly it. Canadians and Americans, they always want more for less, and they're very entitled. And to get them to show up for work every day is incredibly challenging. So we do still have Canadian and American employees, but I don't know. I think that our culture here is a little bit ruined.
Yeah, it's crazy. Also, the fact that Canada has so much multicultural like advantage. Well, I mean, where do you live, Jade? Like, where exactly is? I think it's like the north and a little bit farther away.
We're in Alberta. So we
There you
were
go.
in Saskatchewan and now we're in Alberta. We live just outside of Calgary in a small town.
Wow. All right. Yeah, people that don't know where this is, listening to this is kind of like where you don't want to spend the rest of your life. You cannot stand the cold, and you are going to freeze you're going to freeze your balls because these are one of the, this is one of the coldest countries that we have, and I love Canada, but the cold is just incredibly cold. So Jade and her partner have built this great agency for real estate agents, leveraging YouTube, leveraging social media as well, and going into multifamily. Now, if our viewers here are wholesalers and they want to graduate into getting multifamily contracts, right? This is something that they always look for. All right, we have so many clients that they're in that stage, where like, I just think the same way as Jade. It's the same effort in marketing, potentially a little bit longer sales cycle, but you're going to be able to lock up more doors, even as a real estate investor, for the same type of effort. And the negotiation is something that you just have to adapt it, because you're now dealing with other, maybe landlords, right? Other investors, right? So how can a wholesaler like set up something, or just a real estate investor that is currently doing only single family, um, and set something up with a cold calling, let's say, campaign or mechanism, to start getting packages? Like, what are those first steps do you think have given you success? And I know that it seems still early to say that it's successful and everything, but you definitely figured something out. So what do you think are those things that have given you a big leverage?
So I think that probably the main things that people need to focus on is you need to start simple. You need to understand what you're doing at a very like granular, simplistic level. I think everyone starts out and they have this big vision and this big idea, and they kind of forget like there's a lot of small steps that you need to figure out before you hire an entire call center. The most simplistic thing that you can do is literally pick up your phone, start cold calling. And that's it. It sounds so stupid simple. It's like, okay, how can you get a hold of people? Like, you need a list and you need a phone. That's it. Then once you start to figure that out, you can start to scale it a little bit. Get an automatic dialing system. Start to get cold callers. Just hire one at a time. Just one. Very simple steps. Then get two, then get three, then get a call center manager. Like, it's everyone wants to just say, I am going to start a call center. So they invest in dialing software that costs them thousands of dollars. They invest in a cold calling team, or they hire an outsourced cold calling team. And it's, if you don't understand the like first steps of getting everything working, everything else is basically just going to implode. And there's no point in spending 10, 20, 30, $50,000, even $100,000 trying to get all this implemented if you don't understand the first steps, or just find somebody who can do it for you and outsource it.
Momentum, right? I think you just talked about momentum, like just getting getting that gear and that engine to start working, but doing these very simple things that ultimately just the inertia is going to allow you to go deeper into this and figure it out. Now, um, how is your story like in terms of multifamily, connecting with someone that really knew about the real estate investing and really knew about, of course, you guys cold calling and marketing and closing deals. Like, how did that even mesh? How did that even meet together?
So that's a good question because I don't think I touched on that at all. So one thing that was really important for us was that because we don't actually have a lot of real estate negotiations experience, what we ended up doing was we hired a mentor and then we ended up partnering with our mentor because, like I said, we like to just go big, we like to go fast. And so, in order for us to learn all the intricate details that we would need to know, it would take us too long. So, it was a lot easier for us to be able to leverage what somebody else already knows. So, we got a mentor, went through the program, and then thought, can we just outsource this? So then we ended up just partnering with our mentor, which actually made things really seamless because there were a lot of things that we didn't know. We might be good at marketing, and sure, we have a couple rental properties in Canada, but it's not quite the same. So I think having that share of knowledge and being able to just have that as part of our team, that was something that really helped us significantly because then we're not new at doing this. Our partner has, I think, 30 plus experience doing real estate investing, which was incredibly helpful.
That's
That's
my age.
Exactly. That's my age too. So that was really helpful in terms of being able to get us to take all of our systems, all of their knowledge, kind of plug them together. And you can do it without doing that. But for us, like I said, it depends on if you want to go fast or if you want to go slow. That was the fastest way for us to do it.
How would you suggest someone to structure a partnership with a mentor or with someone that it's really established in the business and you can offer this this really big scale that you mastered, like marketing and sales. So how would you suggest anyone that they can do the same?
It really depends on how much value each person is adding. If you find that you don't really know anything and you don't have anything to add, say you're just somebody who's working a normal job that has nothing to do with real estate, but you're like, I want to get into real estate. You're probably going to have to give up a bigger piece of the pie simply because you don't have a lot of value to offer other than an idea. For us, it was we already had a lot of knowledge that was going to allow us to basically grow this thing quite quickly. So we were able to negotiate things quite a bit differently simply because we did have a lot already to offer. So it's hard to say how to structure it. You really have to understand where you're coming in, and you also have to maybe take your ego back a little bit. Because if you don't have a lot to offer, there's no reason for somebody to just randomly sign up with you as a partner. You might have to pay them a wage for a certain period of time. You might have to pay them consulting fees. You might have to pay whatever it is. Just expect that if somebody is adding a tremendous amount of value to your life, it's going to cost you money. And I think that's one thing that people are always afraid of, and people always get their egos too involved, and they're like, well, I have experience talking to people because I worked in customer service for 3 years. That's not enough. You need to actually have an exchange of value. Otherwise, you need to be willing to pay for somebody else's value.
100%, I agree. Now, um, obviously, if you have a huge amount of experience on running a marketing agency that produces hundreds of thousands of dollars per year for agents, you have a lot of value. And I'm pretty sure when your coach said like, hey, when you offered this to the coach, you'd be like, holy, this is absolutely a win-win situation for me too, right? Like, have you changed? Have you Do you think that doing this partnership with him has drastically done something to his life or to the way that he runs his business, real estate investing, so far?
It has in a couple ways because we're so, I guess, systematized and we do everything automated. I think that was some like eye-opening things for him is how fast we can do things simply because we can leverage technology to get us leads, get us lists. We can outsource to different people. We can grow a team quite quickly. So I think the way that we do things is quite modern, and not a lot of people are doing things this way at this point. There's still a lot of wholesalers, real estate investors that are still doing things old school ways. There's still door knocking. He wasn't door knocking, but there's still a lot of people that are just doing things, I guess, kind of the old way. And if you want to go fast, you need to be able to leverage systems to be able to do that.
I absolutely love that. And thank you that you're bringing this up, because this is going to be absolutely huge for anyone that is listening. Just wait a moment. I'm going to ask a few questions. So, Jade, you said systems and leveraging technology. All right. I do work with a lot of real estate investors, flippers, wholesalers, but real estate investors, they tend to really use very outdated marketing models, or, JV here, send me this deal. I'll wait for you. I'll network on the Facebook group and network in here. I'll wait. I'll play that wait game, right? I'll play that. Eventually, I'll get my stuff. And you have obviously built your brand in real estate agents, but you haven't in real estate investing. So you created this system. So what are these systems that you're talking about, and what technology can we use in order to quickly have an accelerated effort?
Right. So there's a couple different systems you want to focus on. Number one, prospecting. If you don't have a prospecting system, that's problematic. If you're expecting that you're going to use your 8 hours a day to do 100% of your prospecting, that's inefficient. You shouldn't be doing that if you want to be a business owner. If you want to be a freelancer or do wholesaling or real estate investing as a hobby, sure. But that's not going to work for you if you actually want to grow and establish a large business. Number two is having a CRM that actually works for you. If you're doing things out of a piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet and you're trying to manage that, you're going to have a bad time because you're not automating anything, which would bring me to my next point. Having automations that you're communicating with your prospects via your CRM, so that, again, you're not having to pick up your phone, send an individual text message to everyone. You're never going to be able to do it all, especially if you're spending 8 hours a day door knocking, and then you're sitting there trying to send text messages to all of your prospects, and then you're trying to follow up with them. You just can't do it with any type of inertia because you're a one-man army. And then also delegating to staff. If you can get other people to start doing things for you, don't be cheap. Pay the money to get other people to help you so that you can leverage other people's time. We talk so much in real estate about leveraging other people's money all the time. We also need to be thinking about leveraging other people's time in order to actually grow something big. If you look at any of the large real estate investing companies out there, they all have systems, they all have staff. They're not cheap. They invest in all of these things. And I think that's probably the elephant in the room is people aren't willing to spend money. They basically want to start everything as cheap as possible. And in some aspects, it's good to, try and stay lean and be conscious of your profits. But at the same time, a business doesn't grow from nothing. You need to be able to leverage systems and ways of doing things and other people's time so that you can actually grow something substantial. Because I think on everyone's mind that's in real estate investing, they want generational wealth. Well, you're not going to get that. You're probably not going to get that if you're a one-man show competing with businesses that have these systems already ready to go.
Okay, that's awesome. So you said prospecting is the first thing. And with the prospecting methods that you were able to achieve these two portfolio packages, we're talking cold calling. But now, like, a lot of people just struggle, like, even the fact of thinking, how can I absolutely automate the cold calling, all right, and then having a CRM that ultimately works for me is still like they understand it. It's something that is absolutely logical, right? It just makes total sense. But it's just at the time to actually put it into practice, they just struggle all the time. So with prospecting cold calling, how have you automated that? And, like, I guess how many cold callers did you have to do it in order to know, holy, this is absolutely getting me enough leads, enough prospects so that us closers can lock up deals?
So ours has actually been really simplistic. We have had one cold caller that did 90% of our prospecting. We just have an automated dialing system. They dial the list, they cold call for us, and then we negotiate all of the deals. It's been pretty straightforward and pretty simplistic. We do have more than one cold caller. However, I would say, like with any business, you're always going to have someone who's your shining star. And they've been able to do a ton of work. We want to scale it beyond that. Plus, now we are starting to utilize ads as well, which also helps. So I think that, yeah, that's kind of important. You don't really need to overcomplicate it. And I think that's probably the first thing that people do is overcomplicate things.
100% overcomplicate stuff. Literally start dialing it, how you said, and then eventually when you start getting the momentum, yes, you're going to start investing into this big expensive dialer. Set it up, right? Spend couple $100,000, and then get your, eventually scale upon that. So imagine like you, by doing all this really micro optimizations in a very focused prospecting department, you've been able to accomplish this. So imagine if you were to scale. Of course, this is now an efficient and effective system that you have created. Now, you said dialers. Like, what do you recommend for people to dial? Call tools, batch, nine dialer. What is your preference?
Honestly, we don't have a preference. We have probably used hundreds of dialers, not hundreds. We've probably used over 15 dialers. I can't say that we have a favorite dialer. I would say that we haven't invested enough in a dialer at this point in time that I can actually say that I love any of them. They all kind of do the same thing, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think that there's any one that is better than the next. We have went with the creme de la creme dialing systems, and I find that they are just as good as some of the cheaper ones. At this point, I don't really have a favorite. Do they get the job done? Do they dial? Okay, that's really all I need.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about CRM, when people start coming in and you need to absolutely manage it the way that is efficient and effective? So what do you recommend?
We use Go High Level, probably just because we have an agency background, and Go High Level just makes the most sense.
That is absolutely awesome. Uh, Now I'm assuming that at this point you're solely going to be focusing most of your time into this. Is that right? Where do you want to go with this?
Man, I want to take this to the moon.
The Grant Cardone over here?
Yeah, like right now we're trying to build like out our syndicate and everything like that so that we have investors ready to go. It's funny because it's like on one side I say that we've went really fast, but then on the other side I'm saying we could go a lot faster. So I want to scale this up as fast and quickly as we do with our agency. In our agency, we spend a ton of money on client acquisition. I want to get that up to spending more than we're spending in our agency, and just take it to the moon. We want to keep doing multifamily deals, taking over those portfolios. And I don't know, we don't, at this point, like I said, our original goal in doing this was very modest, and all of a sudden it just kind of blew up. So at this point, we kind of need to go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, what do we want to do? What's our goals for the next year? Because we 10x, more than 10x what our original plan was. So at this point, I don't know, take it to the moon.
All right. So, what are those current challenges that your model is that would not work if you were to 10x it? Like, what are those things that you potentially say like, "Oh, I'm not gonna be able to do this if we go faster, or we start getting more deals, or we start getting more leads."
So there's a few things. You have to be able to feed your own system. So if we get a whole bunch of deals, but we don't necessarily have investors or funding or anything like that, it's kind of a balancing act. And that's one thing that we did learn right away, is that if you don't have investors, you can find all the deals you want. But if you don't actually have a network of people available to help you, you're going to run into problems. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Networking is still important. As much as we want to say that we want to automate absolutely everything, I do think that there is a certain element of networking that you always have to be doing, because you do need to be growing your network. Your network is super important in real estate investing. And I think that's one thing that people overlook a lot, especially young people, because young people that want to get into things, they just want to do everything fast. And they kind of overlook some of the, I guess, more important intricacies of doing all of this.
Yeah, some of the obviously, like we try to act like robots because we think that we're not humans.
Yeah.
But but like there's definitely human things that have been happening since a long time ago that are 100% need to be applied here in real estate. I just realized that I went fully virtually and I stopped having contact with human beings, and that kind of affected a little bit of the potential. Not affected, but like potentially missed a lot of opportunities by not being close contact, or just, hey, let's do a virtual coffee, let's meet up, let's get together, let's know how we can help each other in these real estate deals, even though it's just a call, right? All these things is something that I kind of like let go for a little bit. But now that you're telling me 100% is one of the biggest things. That's why I join mastermind events. That's why I join masterminds itself, right? And being able to connect with those. Are you part of any big network or mastermind with real estate investors that you think that you can leverage this?
Honestly, not right now. However, other members of our team are, which is kind of nice. We've
Nice.
been able, but so I should say that with a grain of salt. My entire network, I would say, not my entire network, but the majority of my network has come from different masterminds, not necessarily real estate investing, but I would say our partners are definitely more involved in different online networks and communities and stuff like that. That's one thing that, because we are, I wouldn't say, well, I guess we are kind of new to this. Because we are a little bit more new to this, I haven't joined a whole bunch of networks, but I would say that the majority of my network has come from online masterminds. And that's actually how we've been able to get different investors, because I've been so active in so many different real estate communities, not necessarily real estate investing, but that's been like huge in all of this, is being able to build sort of, I would say very lightly, a personal brand around it. But yeah, it's been critical to our success.
All right. I'd like to touch base on that, what you just said, personal brand that you've been able to kind of build out. Obviously, for anyone that follows Jade and is listening to this, we know that she will speak. You'll call out people, just speak your mind, and even get into conversations where you're steering the bees, right? And I've seen that. I love that. But obviously it's something that attracts people to see you, all right? It gets attention. But it's also you being you, all right? uh, and people have a hard time just using social media to speak out their minds, or be able to really let people see that you exist, that we can do business together, and that that my genius zone is, let's say, for example, you lead gen marketing, sales, and acquisition, right? So there's many things, and obviously your different point of views about different things. So how is this branding? Like, did you ever think about, like, I'm just gonna continuously do this because I know for people will get familiar with me, continuously like see my stuff, go on TikTok? Or is this more like a strategy? Like, is this more like a strategy, or just something that you do, like just because you feel like it?
It's a little bit of both. So my personality online, like you said, it's bold. I'm a type A personality, very aggressive person in pretty much everything I do. My entire personal brand is 100% authentic to who I am. So it's very easy for me. It's very natural to me. I look back to my corporate days and even my like first years in being an agency. I was so worried about rocking the boat. I was so worried about what people would think. So everything that I did was kind of just like neutral. I never did anything to upset anyone. I never did anything that might be controversial, but that's not my personality. My personality is very in your face. It's very controversial. It's very say what's on my mind. I kind of just say it how it is. And my intention is never to be hurtful or harmful to anyone in doing so. So I'm careful about those kinds of things. So it is strategic in a sense. It's strategic in a sense that obviously there's certain things that are going to get more people's attention than if you're just neutral all the time. But at the same time, it's also quite authentic to me because it is just my personality, which is easy. And I think that's one thing that is probably overlooked, is that you are going to attract people to you that are like you. And you want to do business with people that are like you because it's easier to do business with people that are like you. And I think that's probably my biggest thing. I don't mind saying something controversial on the internet. I don't mind starting a discussion about something that might ruffle some feathers, because I know that a lot of people in my audience, they have fairly similar views as me. And I think that that makes it, I guess, a little bit more okay. But it also sparks a lot of interest and gets me a lot of very free views, simply because I'm willing to just say whatever online.
Oh, okay. I remember so many times I seen you posts on Facebook on things that get like maybe 50 or 100 comments, or just 50 likes, 100 likes, but it's just it's just because people are basically applauding you to be like, you freaking said it. I've been trying to say this thing, but I saw you. I'm gonna give you my like, my comment. I agree. And you freaking said it. I'll never be able to say something like that, right? And like, is this something that kind of like mold your circle, or eventually get your, you know, like you said, your connections, your network? Is this something that kind of has helped you or not helped you in the long run with your agency business, and now with the real estate? How is that right now playing out?
It 100% has helped us. Like we close a lot of deals just from like my organic marketing. And the funny thing is like my organic marketing, I never have a call to action. I
Okay.
never ask for a sale. I probably should have more calls to action in the things that I'm doing, but it's funny because like my TikTok account has nothing to do with what we do. It is just me ranting about random things, and we still get real estate agent clients off of that, because these people follow me and then they go to my profile and they see what I do and then they Google me and they're like, I want to work with this person. My Facebook closes deals constantly around the clock, simply because people resonate with some of the messages that I'm saying, especially because how the algorithms work, as most people know, the more people that are commenting, liking, whatever, the more likely it's going to get shown to more people. So if people are constantly seeing my content and what I'm saying and they agree with me, they're more likely to be, when they need what we offer, they're more likely to do business with us, because they're like, oh, there's that controversial person on the internet that always posts those things. She does this. She solves that problem.
It's proven to say that the algorithm actually helps. I mean works with those type of post comments, whatever that is. We've seen it everywhere in the internet. We've seen it from Grant Cardone building his own brand, all right, and the controversy, the things that he said, like starting from 10x, that you cannot be average, or anything at all regarding the average person, an entrepreneur, or someone that has a millionaire mindset, but saying it bold out loud, that very, very loud. And then now we're seeing it with other people like Alex Hormozy, where starts to not only like bring in a lot of value, but he started to listen to Grant Cardone ways of doing it, and that's full controversial. The things that are going to get a lot of more attention. I think someone in Facebook, a coder somewhere, the algorithm is just putting like you know, little bees, or little something controversy in that algorithm. They're just coding sometimes, every single time. That's what you gotta do, right? Like, yeah, that's exactly how it works. Algorithm and TikTok too.
Oh yeah. The algorithms love controversy. Controversy. I think that it's like that's what they thrive off of. And I think that that's like back in the day, it's like you couldn't talk about certain things. There were so many rules about things that you weren't allowed to talk about because you might ruffle some feathers. And it's like now it's like everything's out on the table. Just talk about it. It's like you see these guys that are like Grant Cardone. I'm pretty sure he just had some post with Donald Trump not long ago. And it's like you would have never been able to do something like that 10, 20 years ago. And now it's like just take a stance on something, believe in it, because somebody else believes in it too. And that somebody else is your potential customer. So I think it's like the floodgates are open now. Everything is out on the table. We just say whatever we want on the internet, and it seems to be working out well for a lot of incredibly successful people.
100%. Actually, my content director does a really good job in suggesting me to do stuff, because, like you said, I was trying to be more careful what I say, or trying to be like protect other people's. But like at the end of the day, like if my opinion is my opinion and I want to say it out loud, I can say it out loud, and you're gonna know who are the ones that agree or not. And fortunately enough, my circle of friends, they agree. And now I get people to see my posts. Now people are going to check out what the hell is Esteban doing, or saying like, let me check his post. Oh, call to action. He generates motivated sellers for real estate investors or wholesalers. Okay, let me check it out. Go to the website, boom, capture his attention, see my content. I can grab 1 or 2 hours of real estate in their mind, in their head, and ultimately, solidify the brand. That's ultimately how it works. The more time that you can grab on people's real estate inside their head, all right, in their focus of during the day, the more they're gonna feel familiar with you, and the more they think they know you, right, and the more they think that, hey, working with Esteban or Jade is a good idea, right? So that is absolutely crucial, to really take into consideration for organic marketing. So Jade, I want to talk about some of your geniuses here. What do you think that this success? I know you've done it with. Is he your husband or boyfriend?
Fiance.
Fiance. There you go.
In
Soon,
between.
soon to be. Soon to be. Uh, so I know you started with a partner, but like, what do you think has brought you to this all massive success that you've had, or really good success that you've had so far, to the point that you're living in one of the most high quality countries in the world. You can choose to live in the US. You can choose to invest in the US, acquire properties in the US, and have an automated agency that's bringing you multiple $1 million a year on revenue. So, like, what is it?
I would say there's a few different things, but I would say the number one thing is honestly just, I guess there's two things. Number one is discipline. I like to say that I become so obsessed with certain things that like nothing else exists in my world. I become so tunnel visioned on what I want to do that literally nothing else matters but that one thing that I'm focused on. That's been a huge, I guess, I don't know, thing for me. The other thing too is not willing to settle. There's never been a point in my life where I've just been willing to settle for anything less than what I want in life. And I think that that's an important thing because that's like 100% a mindset thing. It's like, I have never wanted to live a low income lifestyle. I have never wanted to have to scrounge or have to budget or have to, I guess, just live a lifestyle where it's like I can't just have the things that I want. And it's not that I'm a super materialistic person, but I do see things and my life and my environment and activities and all of those things is they're basically just points on the scoreboard. And it's funny because I talk about these like weird things with Zach all the time, my fiance, where it's like, if somebody else can do that, if there's one person on this planet that did that, there's no reason why I can't do it. And I never look at things like, I never look at somebody that has everything and I'm like, oh, they're so lucky or they're so whatever. I look at it and say, what do I have to do to get that? What are my steps to get that? And I think that looking at the world through a different lens and thinking, if somebody else has something, there's no reason why I can't have that exact same life. And I think being disciplined to be able to do that and never have excuses and just have this like weird belief that it's like, that's going to be me. Like that has to be me. I have no other options. I think those are really my driving factors. I don't think that there's some special talent or knowledge or skill that I necessarily have. I think it's just, I am so obsessed with doing the things to get to where I want to be that like, there's just no other option.
Wow. Obviously, you have another type of character and personality than the average human being does, and you would encounter less challenge or different type of challenges that regular people trying to start something out or trying to scale something would have. But I'm assuming that you have your own challenges. What do you think have been your biggest challenges that has being in your way, that you say, wow, if I never figure that out, I would be stuck for a long time, or like I would never have done it?
Probably there's two things I would say. Number one was sales.
Mhm.
Sales are kind of like, if you don't learn how to sell And it doesn't matter if you're in a sales position or really anything in life. If you can't figure out how to get people to do what you want them to do, you are going to have a hard time, because our world revolves around people. And I think that that was one of my biggest struggles, even with a sales background. I worked in sales and marketing for years. But I wasn't necessarily specialized in it, and I wasn't that good at it. And I think having to learn how to sell was one of the hardest things that we went through, because at one point in time we had our paid ads going, we were booking meetings, and we weren't selling, we weren't closing, we were just spending money mindlessly, simply because we just weren't good enough at it. And so I did everything in my power. I bought every single course out there, I bought every single book, role played every day that I possibly could, and just became so obsessed with selling that was probably the biggest challenge that I had, was like just not knowing how to sell. The other struggle that we had was starting a business in Canada. It's not the land of giving you credit or money. We basically had to bootstrap everything with like a few dollars in our pockets and figure out how are we going to make this thing work, which was a lot of really hard days, because we had to make decisions in the beginning. It's like, well, we can either go and spend $500 on groceries, or we can spend $500 on ads and then eat crappy food for the next week or so. So that was one of the like big things too, is just making sacrifices and really living lean to get this business started. That was really hard in the beginning too.
Wow, that's definitely something that thank God I was able to move to the USA through a visa, coming from Canada. I'm assuming you do mostly business in the US. Is that right?
Both Canada and the US.
Most Canada. Okay. And I was able to be given that opportunity. He'd be like, hey, get this social security, get everything, get in the US lifestyle and be able to get in here in a way that I can associate with US business based companies and things like that. But I can feel that of course starting a business based on Canada and then being able to try to scale or do things, it would have been a challenge, but it can be done. So any Canadian listening to this, like, Jade has closed on over 80 doors in real estate in the United States in under a year as a real estate investor. Of course, she does have partners, and of course, but she is like one of the most creative problem solving thinking heads in there, and she definitely likes to make shit happen. And she gets shit done. All right, so it can happen. And of course, one thing I wanted to ask you, like, where are these 80 doors multifamily? Where are they located at?
So we have property in a few different places: Alabama, Indiana, and Florida.
Gotcha. So what do you look at into like a good potential investment? Like, I can cold call a list, and you definitely have to check your target market and everything. But what do you look on? Why Alabama? Why these other places? Like, what are those things that you look for?
So I'll give you kind of my take on it. So luckily we have a partner that does a lot of the research for us, and they do all of the work to figure out like what are the best markets that we're going to be going into. But one of the biggest things that's most important for us is we don't want, like anyone who's working in real estate, we don't want to buy houses that are at market value. Because we're buying and holding, we want to make sure that there is built-in equity in these deals, especially because if we have to take these deals to investors, there needs to be equity built into that. So that's one of the most important things for me in terms of area. He basically has like every single presentation for area that he does. We have, I wouldn't even say packages. We have books on the locations that he goes and builds out and figures out like what are the best markets to be advertising or not advertising. What are the best markets to be buying houses in. I'm so used to saying advertising because I have an advertising agency. So he does a lot of that market research for us, which is great because he's looking at every single metric that you possibly can to make sure that we are not going to get ourselves into a market like, for example, right now, buying real estate investment properties in Toronto. It's one of the most inflated markets that there is right now. Probably not a good idea. I shouldn't say that if that market just keeps going up, but I would say just based on looking at it, it's like this probably is not an ideal market to be investing in. So there's so many factors that go into it. Every single economic factor we take into consideration before doing it. But then when it comes to actually buying the property, we need to make sure that the rents are going to be good, as well as making sure that there's built-in equity, just because it does sweeten the deal. It makes it a lot better for us because cash out refi later on.
Yes. So there's a lot of real estate investors here that are listening to the podcast, and multifamily also investors. We have mostly just single family, but for those people that are listening and they want to potentially work with you, be either a lender or someone that can help you fund or do the transaction of your deal, what do you do with these deals? How are you going to structure and lock up these deals so that you can use the help of other real estate investors that are in my network listening to this, or other masterminds that I can potentially send you to?
So right now, that's one of the big things that we're working on, is just building our network so that we do have a network of people, whether that's they have a deal and they need someone to invest in that deal, or whether they're looking to build out systems and they need some area of expertise, or we're building out a network for basically every facet of business, because I do think that your network, like I mentioned, is probably one of the most important things that are out there. We're looking to basically connect with anyone in any layer of doing things, whether it's property management, whether it's lenders, whether it's real estate agents that find off-market deals, anything like that. We're basically trying to build our network so that we have go-to people all over North America. Because while we do most of our business in the States, we still do buy rental properties in Canada. But that's mostly just me and Zach. We do single family.
So Jade, if I were to present this to, let's say, my coach, Pace Morphy, right?
Yeah.
And what is your value proposition, and what's your offer, and what can you fulfill?
For real estate investing, do you mean?
Yeah.
So for real estate investing, our biggest thing right now, I would say, and this is rapidly expanding, would probably be helping with building systems.
Okay. All right. Building systems. But now let's say you have a huge deal like the one that you sent me, right? Or that,
Yep.
well, the one that you showed me. What would people be benefit on working with you on partnering up on specific deals? And how would you structure it so that there is a win-win situation in there for any real estate investor or funding partner that you could potentially have?
Funding partners are a big one for us right now. We structure our deals different depending on the deal and depending on what they're offering and depending how many people are on the deal. Typically, what is great about the deals that we have is we find deals that are significantly under market value. For example, the last deal that you saw that we got, we got it at tax assessed value. It had millions of dollars of built-in equity. Those are typically the types of deals that we are finding. We bring people on. Again, it depends on the deal. But in that particular instance, we brought people on as equity partners, as well as they were also getting interest on any money that was lended as well. So it was a good deal for anyone who was investing in it. That's typically how we structure them, as equity partners as well as lenders. And then we manage the property 100%. So it's not only passive income, but they also get a piece of the pie.
All right. So let's take it as a case study. Maybe you don't have like some numbers in here, but what was the portfolio like, and how would an equity partner come in here, and what would they gain from it? Like, what would that specific deal, what is that doing to your current partners right now, to your current funding partners?
So for that deal, it depended on how much, sorry, I'm giving really vague answers. But it depended on how much somebody invested. But what it looked like was, I think that most of our partners got between 10 to 12% interest, plus they got a certain percentage of equity based on the amount that they were investing in that deal. We funded the majority of that deal, which was kind of nice, but that's typically how we'll structure it.
You funding it with your money or with private money?
So we got funding through like a traditional banking system. I don't know
Okay.
what they're called in the States, a lender,
Yeah. A bank. Yeah.
a bank. I don't
And
know what you guys call them down there. Here it's like we have all these different names for different
private,
banking systems.
sorry, hard money, maybe.
Yeah,
That's
so
not
like
traditional, but hard money is something that you can do, but they just have maybe sometimes high interest and a lot of points, and you have to put 20%. Uh, Private money is obviously private money, but so this
yeah.
deal was like you got it. It was a contract price of about 2,200,000, something like that. Market value was 6,500,000, right?
So it got assessed at 7 million and we got it for 2.4 million. So built-in equity was
Six to
huge.
one house portfolio. This one is already gone, right?
Yeah, this one's already done.
All right.
Sealed, done, gone. But
What
that's
was
not to say there won't be more.
well, that's fine. You'll bring more. You have that, client acquisition system. Sorry, property acquisition system, going in, automated and systemized, and you're about to freaking take it to the moon. So this property, this portfolio was 61 houses. What was the minimum that an investor you would have expected to put in order to get some equity and some
For, for that one, the minimum investment was 200,000.
200,000? All right. And you were looking to only get 20% of it. The rest was funded by you.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. So what would have, in the eyes of someone that want to partner up with you, what would that look like in month to month uh, profits that they would get, or cash flow, um, in using this specific portfolio?
So for this one, we were paying out both monthly rents. So their percentage of whatever they were as an equity partner, they were also getting monthly cash flows rents. Plus they were getting their principal pay down on the money that they lent to us. Plus when we cash out refi, they also get their piece of the pie. So that was like that deal to me, if you were an investor, like it was a no-brainer. Like it was an insane deal because it was just cash on cash on cash on cash, 3 different ways.
Yeah, that's awesome. And hands off to them. Who takes who? I guess your partners would have taken the entire property management risk,
Yeah, so
or
the good thing about that property was already managed before we ever came in. So we're just utilizing the existing property manager. There's still management that we have to do on the deal, obviously. So 2 of our partners manage a lot of that. Zach and I are kind of lucky. We don't have to do a lot of that stuff, which is kind of nice. It's hands off for us. But yeah, we have property managers for all of our properties, which makes it very hands off for our investors.
you should go and go fly to that deal, do a drone footage, and do that YouTube video technique where you're going to run YouTube ads and get more, get investors, get that network going, at least for a branding campaign. Be like, hey,
Yeah.
this is what we did, and this is what our investors are getting. Come work with me. Like,
Yeah.
I think that you would absolutely destroy this.
Oh yeah. Because we could just send a drone up and be like, these 2 city blocks, these are ours.
Exactly. And then I've seen your YouTube videos, and obviously you would come in and be like, "This is Jade."
Exactly. We get it. There's some things that we can't do because there's so many like SEC laws when it comes to like asking for money on the internet. Like there's so much red tape around like the securities laws and stuff. So we
Right.
have to be so careful with the way that we do things and the way that we
Yeah, because
advertise.
you have to be an accredited investor in order to do this.
Yep, exactly. So we have to make sure that everything is in line. We have the right partners to be doing the right things, make sure everything is 100% crossing our T's, dotting our I's, making sure we're not going to get our hands slapped.
Yeah. So you said you're thinking of going into the paid ads route too. What are you gonna do? YouTube or Google?
We're gonna do everything. Honestly, like I find that, like I mentioned before, our team's closers, we don't need everything handed to us on a silver platter. We're already actively running ads to acquire deals essentially right now, but I'm all about volume. We will run or we do run YouTube ads to get people interested in this. However, YouTube does have a higher expensive or a higher lead cost which I don't necessarily need because we're going to send our guys in. They're going to close it. Doesn't matter the quality. We're going to figure out all of the kinks as we go. That's never really been a thing to me. I just want volume.
Volume. So right now, boom, just a straight cold calling SMS will give you that volume.
Yep.
How's that conversation? So are you guys good closers right now, or you hired also closers for that? How
No, we don't have closers for that right now. Right now, it's just our two partners that are doing everything.
how's that conversations with the multifamily owners? They're investors, right?
Sometimes they're investors. Sometimes it's like in certain cases, it'll be like the family of an investor says
Inherited.
something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the conversations, honestly, they're all very like case by case basis, simply because it's like one of ours was retired landlord. The other one was the family took over it. A lot of the other situations, it's a lot of people that are retiring. They don't want to be landlords anymore. And especially with like what just happened with COVID, a lot of people are like, you know what, I am too old to be doing this. So that's a lot of these conversations, but they're all pretty unique, which means that our two partners have to have incredible sales skills because they need to be quick on their toes, because it's not like selling agency services where you're talking to real estate agents that all have the same problems every single day. You can just have a script, copy, paste, whatever. It's quite a bit different, and you have to be, I guess, creative, problem solving, many things, and be able to just think on your toes, which is why we're really lucky to have the two partners that we do have.
It's more of a 100% consultant and that creative structuring knowledge.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's very, they got to be on their toes for doing this. It's definitely not something that I think is for the faint of heart, but a lot of that came from their experience. Like our one partner that has over 30 years experience of doing this, he's done single family, he's done multifamily, he's kind of done it all. So he's like the godfather of doing all of this,
And
which
he
is
can
really
be your father too. 30 years of experience. That's quite.
You froze on me. You're not here anymore.
No, I just said that 30 years of experience, that's quite a lot, and that it's a blessing that you were able to do that. Did you
Exactly.
did you ever think like partnering was like a route to go? Or
Oh, it's actually funny because like in our agency and just in other businesses that we've had, I've always said I do not like partners. I hate having business partners. But in this
psychic
case,
listening.
yeah. I've always been very like, I don't want partners. I just want to be able to do things on my own. But in real estate investing, it's very different, especially because it's such a complex sale that being able to leverage somebody else's knowledge and expertise has been critical in our success, especially because both of our partners have a fair amount of real estate investing experience. And I say Zach and I don't, even though like we have had rental properties in Canada for years. It's just been we've never done it at a scalable way that we're doing it. It's like we'll buy a house here and there type of thing. It's been very different.
And also with a realtor, I guess, right?
Yeah, we always did things with realtors. Like in Canada, all of our rental properties are brand new builds, so it's just a completely different ball game.
Yeah, exactly. 100% different. This is off market. You're dealing with distressed owners or motivated for some reason, and also multifamily. Lots of challenges. I love this. So I really like to continue. I mean, just be there as one of those little guys that'd be like, "Hey Jade, so how's your journey? Teach me." This is fun to listen to, and obviously whoever's listening here be like, "Wow, real estate agency for realtors, brokers, and real estate investing in multifamily." Of course, it's like the same industry, but it's not like different verticals, and it's just complete different ball game. And the fact that you're doing it so fast is impressive. So props to your 30-year veteran on real estate investor coach. I know him. I know that he does lease options stuff and a lot of different things. We've spoken in the past. So props to him for finding you, and you then finding someone in, like him. But Definitely like finding you as like, hey, let's partner up, or like I'm gonna coach you. It's 100% a win-win. I think he won more, in my honest opinion. But yes. Okay, so this is really fun, Jade. Honestly, I do, I do like to have people that bring incredible value and can speak forever to the podcast on a second time, and we can emphasize on different things. All right, potentially we can come in and just add value to the listeners in different things as well. But it's been really really fun today. I definitely want to keep connected with you. I feel like the deeper I go right now into real estate investing and wholesaling, the deeper I find myself into these networks of people that can help each other out in many different things, and I can provide you with that as well. I know that Rin has a really vast network, but it doesn't hurt. So for me to come in here and see if how we can potentially also work together or help you out in such a way. In any
Exactly.
way. But yeah, this is awesome. Um, Thanks so much for being here in the podcast. Again, everyone that is listening to this podcast, guys, just share Spotify and Audible, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, anywhere it's available. And we will also have little clips here highlighting nuggets and everything as we release the podcast to the public in a few weeks. So again, thank you for listening to Online Hustlers podcast, Jade Gording. It was pretty amazing to have you, and we'll have you a second time. So don't miss out, guys. All right. So have a good one. Bye bye, Jade.
Bye.